Hi, hello viewers, it's Myla Minute IAS Academy, and today we are going to see the history of the constitution as well as the making of the constitution. So let us start our polity classes. So before independence, we didn't have a constitution. So Britishers ruled India, but they ruled us based on the regulating act as well as they posed some laws on us. So they ruled based on the regulating acts, but we didn't have any written constitution before independence. So this is the first point. So before 1773, after 1773 only, from 1773 we are ruled by regulating acts and laws of the British government, but before 1773 we are ruled by the words that kings say. So whatever king says considered as the rule. The words of kings are considered as the rule, the words of kings are considered as an act, and it is followed by the people. So we had no rights and but we had freedom. So we had no rights during the king's rule, but we had freedom during the king's rule, because most of the kings in our ancient India, most of them are native rulers. We had freedom, but we didn't have any rights which are written in a form of constitution or anything. During Vedic period itself, we have Sabha Samiti concepts, but we didn't have a concept of written constitution. So how this concept of written constitution has developed in the world? So India is not the first country to have a constitution, right? How constitution has been come into the world? Let us discuss that. So US is the first country to have a written constitution. So US is also once colony of Britain and France. So we are ruled by Britishers, right? So US also once a colony of Britain as well as France. So after some point it got independence from them. So like India, US is also ruled by British and France. After some time they got independence from them and they demanded constitution. So they also demanded constitution, and the first constitution, first written constitution in the world is for US only. US is the one which had first written constitution, and it was written in 1787. So the type of constitution which it had is federal constitution. So let us discuss about federal constitution later. So the type which it had is federal constitution. The basic feature of federal constitution is it has division of power. It has state as well as center. So in US also it has state as well as center, and there is a division of power. Some powers will be given to state and some powers will be given to center. So that is federal constitution, and US is a federal constitution, and it is the first written constitution in the world, which is written in 1787. So this is about how written constitution came into the world. Then constitution can be written or unwritten. So here in US I have said it is a written constitution. So constitution can be written or unwritten. For example, written constitution, we can say US as well as India. India also has a written constitution. For example, for unwritten constitution is UK. UK has an unwritten constitution. So these are the types of the constitution. There are many ways in which we can classify. Based on this, we can say written or unwritten constitution. US have written constitution, whereas UK have unwritten constitution. Now let us see how constitution came into India. So this is how written constitution came into the world. Let us see how constitution came into India. So the first person to demand constitution is M.N. Roy. M.N. Roy is the first person to demand constitution, and he demanded it in 1934. He demanded a constitution assembly. He demanded the idea of constituent assembly to write a constitution. So M.N. Roy is the first person. Sorry, it is in 1934. So he is the first person to demand the constitution. In 1935, INC will demand constitution. INC is nothing but Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress will demand constitution in 1935. So after that, the world was facing a Second World War. Second World War period is from 1939 to 1945. The world is facing Second World War. So India is a precious colony of British. So India is rich of resources, and India is a precious colony of British. So British don't want to lose that precious colony. So they gave us August offer. We are fighting for independence. So they gave August offer. August offer is given in 1940, which means World War is going in Second World War is going on. During that period, British gave August offer in 1940. It is by Linlithgow. But India didn't accept it, and that's a different story. After that, actually during World War, there is a fact that US was not into war. First, US was not into war, but it was dragged into the war by Japan. So Japan will attack the Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor is in US. Japan will attack the Pearl Harbor, and by this attack, US is dragged into the war. And after this, US is supporting UK. So UK is the one who ruled us, right? Britishers are from UK. So US is supporting UK, and US pressurized UK to give India some power, because US also know the pain of a colonial country. US is also one of the colony of UK, right, earlier. So it pressurized UK to give some powers to India. And after this, only Cripps mission came. So Cripps mission came in 1942. But it was rejected by Muslim League, because Muslim League demanded a separate country for Muslims, that is Pakistan. So they rejected Cripps mission 1942. So this is also rejected. August Offer came in 1940, which is rejected. Cripps mission came in 1942, which is also rejected. Then World War came to an end in 1945. Sorry. In 1945, World War came to an end. So in 1935, World War came to an end. It will be coming to end. After that, United Nations will be formed. So UN will be formed in October 1945. So World War will be coming to an end in September 2, and United Nations will be formed in 24th October 1945. After this, we will be given cabinet mission. So cabinet mission is given in 1946. So cabinet mission is given in 1946. It said that we can have our constitution, and it also said that we can form a constituent assembly to write our own constitution. So it was given in 1946, and it said that we can have a constitution. So Constituent Assembly can write it. So we are going to form a Constituent Assembly. So in the Constituent Assembly is a group which has many members, and that members collectively write the constitution for India. So this cabinet mission itself said how we can select members for the Constituent Assembly, also given in this cabinet mission itself. So in Cabinet Assembly, in Constitution Assembly we have 389 members. 389 members in Constitution Assembly. Out of this 389 members, 296 for British India. 296 is for British India. During that period, during the British rule, we have British India as well as we had princely states, and British India can be divided into province as well as chief commissioner province. So let us say the province is something equal to districts, like district or states, and chief commissioner province is something equal to union territory. So British India 296 seats, and some seats are given to princely states, and that is 93. Out of this 296 seats which are given for the British India, 292 seats are for the province, and 4 seats are for the chief commissioner province. So out of this 4 seats for the chief commissioner province, we have 4 chief commissioner provinces, that are Delhi, Ajmer, Marwar, Coorg, and British Balochistan. These are the 4 chief commissioner provinces that are during the British India. So for that 4, we have 4 chief commissioner province seats and 292 seats for the province. Then out of these 292 provinces, out of these 292 seats for the provinces, how seats are given, on what basis the seats are allocated, and that is cabinet mission recommended 1 seat for 1 million population. So it gave 1 seat for 1 million population. And the representation of each community is elected by the members of this community. So the representation of each community is elected by the members of that community, and for province, the MLA will select members of the Constitution Assembly. For province, MLA will select the members of the Constituent Assembly, which means it is indirectly elected. And for princely states, here for province it is indirectly elected by MLA. MLA will select the members for the Constituent Assembly, and for princely states, the princes will nominate members for the Constituent Assembly. So by this, our Constituent Assembly is partly elected and partly nominated. It is not completely elected body, but it is partly elected and partly nominated. So out of this Out of the 292 seats, out of the 296 seats for the British India, our Congress has won 208 seats won by Indian National Congress, and 73 seats is for Muslim League. And other than this, we have 15 seats which are won by some independent persons. So this is the seat which has won by Indian National Congress, 73 by Muslim and 15 by independent. But the most important fact relating to Constituent Assembly is Gandhi as well as Jinnah. Both Gandhi as well as Jinnah are not members of Constituent Assembly. So most of the important persons, most of the important leaders are part of Constituent Assembly, but the most important persons, two most important persons, one is Gandhi and another one is Jinnah of Muslim League. Both Gandhi as well as Jinnah are not members of the Constituent Assembly. So this is one important fact. And these seats are given, and 93 seats are given to princely states, which I have already said, right? Princely states have not sent their members to the Constituent Assembly. The fear of losing their power, because if India get independence, princely states don't get any power, right? They will be just like vanished, right? So because of that fear, they didn't send their members to the Constituent Assembly. So, and also Muslim League is not fully interested in these matters, because Muslim League wanted a separate country for themselves. So because of this, Muslim League also is not interested in this, and Muslim League will refuse to send their members to the Constituent Assembly, and they will start a day called as Direct Action Day. So this Direct Action Day will happen in 16th August 1946. 16th August 1946 is the Direct Action Day. It is the day of widespread continual rioting of the Muslims in Calcutta. It is like a clash. It is like a riot which is done by Muslims in Calcutta. So after this Direct Action Day by the Muslims, which has resulted in riots, Mountbatten will come to India. This is when Mountbatten came. So Mountbatten will be coming in March. He will come in March 1947. Mountbatten will come. After he came, he will announce a plan called as June 3rd plan, or June 3rd plan, or we can also say it as Mountbatten plan, which is given by Mountbatten, which says that India can be divided, and that is when India is divided. First, Britishers never had the idea of dividing India, but Muslim League continuously demanded separate state for Muslims, and they also started a day called Direct Action Day in 16th August 1946, which is nothing but a widespread communal rioting by Muslims in Calcutta, which resulted in Mountbatten coming to India. He came in March 1947. After that, we had June 3rd plan. June 3rd plan or Mountbatten plan, which is nothing but dividing India. So by this, India is divided into two. So it resulted in dividing India. So after the division, India had 299 members. So earlier we had totally 389 members. Out of the 389 members, 296 for the British India and 93 for the princely states. But now for India, we have only 299 members for India alone, for the divided India. And out of this 299 members, 226 for province. Earlier we had 296 for province, now 226. So sorry, yearly we have 292 for province, now we have 226 for province. Then for Chief Commissioner, province 3. Why 3? Earlier we have 4. Out of that, British Balochistan will fall under the Pakistan territory, British Balochistan. So only 3 is now. And then we have 70 for the princely states. And after division, these are the seats which are in Constituent Assembly. So the main importance of Constituent Assembly is, in Constitution Assembly we had Anglo-Indians, we have Indian Christians, we have Muslims, we have Hindus, we have Parsis, we have Sheikhs, we have scheduled caste people, we have backward tribe people. We had all types of people in our Constitution Assembly. This is one important fact. And we also had women in our Constitution Assembly. There are 15 women members in our Constitution Assembly. We have Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, we have Ammu Swaminathan, Durga Bai, Sarojini Naidu. Sarojini Naidu is one important person, right? So Sarojini Naidu, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit are some of the important persons. We had many women persons also in our Constituent Assembly. So these are the things which are relating to the uniqueness of the Constitution Assembly. And the first meeting of the Constitution Assembly was happened in 9th December 1946. So we say 9th December 1946, just go back and see. So a direct action day happened on 16th August 1946. In June 3rd of 1947, only India was divided. But before this itself, our first meeting of the Constituent Assembly held. In this meeting, Muslim League boycotted the meeting because Muslim League is demanding a separate country for themselves, right? So they boycotted this meeting, and only 211 members attended this meeting. Out of the 389 members, only 211 members attended this meeting, and in this meeting, they appointed a provincial president. Provincial president is appointed for the Constituent Assembly, and that provincial president is appointed by J.B. Kripalani. By J.B. Kripalani. J.B. Kripalani is the president of the Indian National Congress during the time of independence. So, it is appointed by J.B. Kripalani, and the person who is appointed as the provincial president is nothing but Sachinananda Singha. So Sachinananda Singha is the oldest member in the Constituent Assembly, and he is elected as the provincial president for our Constituent Assembly in 9th December 1946, and he is appointed by J.B. Kripalani, who is the president of the Indian National Congress during that time. And after this only, we will select Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the president of the Constituent Assembly. Earlier we have selected Rajendra Prasad as the provincial president, then we will select Rajendra Prasad as the president of the Constituent Assembly. And we also have vice president. He is the president, and the vice presidents are, we have two members as the vice presidents. One is H.C. Mukherjee. H.C. Mukherjee is one of the vice presidents, and another one is V.T. Krishnamachari. These two are the vice presidents, and we have an advisor for the Constituent Assembly, and that advisor for Constituent Assembly is V.N. Rao. V.N. Rao is the advisor for the Constituent Assembly. So we had some members. First one is provincial president, who is Sachinananda Singha, then president Rajendra Prasad, and vice president Mukherjee and Krishnamachari. Then we had advisor V.N. Rao. Then many committees are formed. Out of that, 8 major committees. We had 8 major committees. One of the most important committees which are formed in Constituent Assembly. Out of the committees which are formed in Constituent Assembly, one committee has very much importance, and that committee is nothing but Draft Committee. So Draft Committee is the most important committee, and the Draft Committee is headed by B.R. Ambedkar. So Ambedkar headed the Draft Committee, and there are some other committees. Let us discuss the 8 major committees alone. So first is Draft Committee, which is headed by Ambedkar, and second is Union Powers Committee, which is headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Union Powers Committee, which is headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. And then is Union Constitution Committee, which is also headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. And then we have States Committee. States Committee is a committee for negotiating with states. So States Committee is also headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Then we have Provincial Constitution Committee. So Union Constitution Committee is headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, whereas Provincial Constitution Committee is headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And another constitution is also headed by Sardar Patel, and that is Tribal Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribal Excluded Areas. So it is an advisory committee on fundamental rights, minorities and tribal communities, and that is headed by Sardar Patel. So out of 8 major committees, we have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and another 2 which is headed by Rajendra Prasad, and that is Steering Committee. States committee is headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, whereas steering committee is headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and Rajendra Prasad is the president of the Constitution Assembly. Steering committee, and then we have rules of procedure committee. Rules of procedure committee is also headed by Rajendra Prasad, which is also headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So these are the 8 major committees. Out of this, draft committee is the most important one. In draft committee, apart from B.R. Ambedkar, we have Krishna Swami Iyer, Gopal Swami Iyengar, Munshi, then Syed Mohammad Saadullah, then we will have B.L. Mittal. Actually, B.L. Mittal will be replaced by Madhavar Rao, and then we have Kaitan. Kaitan will be replaced by Krishnamachari. So these are the important persons in draft committee. Draft committee is headed by B.R. Ambedkar, which is the most important one. Then we have Indian Independence Act. So we got independence, right? And the act which, this is an act. Indian Independence Act is the act which got independence for India in 1947. This act put an end to British power and the British Parliament in India. So it put an end to British power in India. And our Constituent Assembly, after independence, our Constituent Assembly had 2 main functions. So earlier it wrote the Constitution for India. It wrote Constitution for the independent India. But after independence, we had 2 major roles, and that major role is it need to write the Constitution. One is the common role, which it need to write the Constitution, and another one is it need to enact laws also. So it is the one which enacted laws also. Now Parliament is the one which is enacting laws. So which means our Constituent Assembly also acted as the parliamentary body. So our Constituent Assembly is the first parliamentary body of India. So it is the first parliamentary body of India. So after independence, we got independence in 1947, but we become republic only in 1950. So during this period, we should be governed by some laws, right? And that laws are imposed by this Constituent Assembly only. So it enacted some laws, and on that day it acted as a parliamentary body. During writing only, it acted as a Constituent Assembly. So while writing, it will be headed by Dr. Ambedkar. It will be headed by Rajendra Prasad. Rajendra Prasad is the president, right? So while writing, it will be headed by Rajendra Prasad. It will be chaired by Rajendra Prasad. While it is acting as a parliamentary body, it will be headed by Mavlankar. Mavlankar is the first speaker of independent India. So these 2 functions happen on different days. It won't happen on the same day. If it is writing Constitution on the day, it will be chaired by Rajendra Prasad. If it is enacting laws on the day, it will be chaired by Mavlankar, who is the first speaker of independent India. So Constituent Assembly is the first body to act as a parliamentary body in India. So before independence itself, we need to find certain things. So we need to know who are the citizens of India. So we need to know who are the citizens of India to conduct elections. So for those things, we need Constitution. So certain provisions came in November 26, 1950. Certain things came under, 1949. Certain things came under force. Certain things came to force on November 26, 1949 itself. An example for that is citizenship. We have certain acts which was passed on November 26, 1949 itself, and those are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 60, 324, 366, 367, 379, 380, 388, 391, 392, and then 393. These are the articles which came to force during November 26, 1949 itself, because of the need of that article before our Republic Day itself. These things came into force, but the major part of our Constitution came into force on Jan 26, 1950 only. Why Jan 26, 1950 is selected as the Republic Day? It is because during 1930 we will celebrate our Purna Swaraj Day. We will celebrate like an Independence Day during 1930 January 26. Purna Swaraj Day will be celebrated. So to commemorate that day, we will select that day as the Republic Day of India. So this is how our Republic Day is selected, and some important points relating to Constituent Assembly is CA is our Constituent Assembly had a symbol elephant. So elephant is the symbol of the Constituent Assembly. So it had two main functions. One is to write constitution and another one is to enact laws. Apart from these two, it also adopted the national flag. Constituent Assembly is the one which adopted the national flag, national song, national anthem. And it also ratified the membership of the Commonwealth. It is the one which ratified the membership of the Commonwealth. So these are the things which are relating to the significance of the Constituent Assembly. And apart from this, during the time of enactment of our Constitution, we had so let me write here. We had 8 schedules. We have 8 schedules. Now we have 12 schedules, and we had 22 parts. Now we have 25 parts. And during the time of enactment, we have 395 articles, and now we have 450 plus articles. So these are the things which are relating to the Constitution of India. So in our next video, let us discuss about from where we have borrowed our Constitution, and we can also discuss about the salient features of this Constitution. Subscribe to My Luminate IAS Academy. Thank you.